Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry things are late. Everybody say hi to Brandon and bye, Brandon.
Bye.
It's been a bit of a disaster. I'm really sorry. I really hope you can hear me. Let me know, please, in the chat if you can hear me. We've been having so many technical difficulties, and so I apologize for being disgustingly inappropriately late. I'm actually just going to take these off. Just let me know if you can hear me, if you can't hear me. And I know y'all were expecting Mandy. Mandy's not able to make it this morning. Please let me know in the chats. Just let me know you can hear me. Or if you can't, then talking isn't going to help anything because you won't be able to hear me asking you to let me know if you can't hear me. So typically this would be the Many Loves lunch hour with Mandy. Sorry. My name is Robin Beach. I am chosen family, good friends. I'm her Canadian chosen family. I live in the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish and Musqueam Indigenous tribes, colonially known as Vancouver, Canada. So it is just after 9 o'clock in the morning for me. And so I had to set my alarm. I've just rolled my tired ass out of bed. And I was like, you know what? No makeup today. Just rage. Because, excuse me. I'm going to explain what we were going to talk about today. And Mandy is not able to make it. She's going to try to pop in later. It's a work thing. She doesn't have any control over it. So I guess I'll just do this on my own. Thanks for ditching me, Mandy. Because we really, really needed, both of us need to talk about this. Is we want to talk about reproduction. I'm just calling it reproductive bullshit. And you know what? My American loved ones, I'm really going to need your help explaining certain things. And I'm actually going to be here on the computer looking this up. And I can help try to weigh in on some Canadian stuff. Though right now, I will say that us Canadians are very upset. I'm speaking on behalf of all Canadians. We're not okay with everything Roe v. Wade that's happening in the United States. It's not okay. And a lot of us are scared that that's going to happen up here. And then, of course, a lot of the same fear is, okay, well, what's going to happen next? If this shit can happen, it's scary. It's scary. I do have some positive stuff I want to talk about today as well. Because we want to give a bit of a content warning in that this shit is heavy, and can be very triggering. So you obviously feel your feels. This is what this space is supposed to be, as inclusive of a space as possible. So yeah, I'm going to be feeling some feelings. You can feel your feels, anger, sadness, rage. Just be respectful in the chat and do what you need to take care of yourself, please. If you need to take a break or you need to leave, that's fine. That's totally fair. You do what you need to take care of yourself. Because there's feelings, but there's also positivity and fear. There's a lot of feelings. I am actually getting my uterus removed. It's also known as a partial hysterectomy. That is leaving leaving the ovaries, taking the fallopian tubes, taking the uterus, and yes, taking the cervix out. I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss. I'm nervous, mostly because I do not make a very good patient. There's a lot of healthcare providers don't make very good patients. That's a bit of a stereotype, cliche, and it's a stereotype for a reason. There are a lot of healthcare providers that are awful patients, and I am one of those. I don't like not being in control. I don't like the idea of going under general. I've done it twice, and I hated it both times. But, Mandy mentioned something. She told me something that felt very... it was really helpful. It's actually one of the most helpful things someone could tell me. And it was what Mandy told me yesterday. I think she said, she's like, what were the times you were under general anesthetic, before or after you had kids? And I was like, well, actually, both was before. I haven't been under general since I've had kids. I've had 2 C-sections, but you don't go under for that. I still hated the C-sections. I don't like being vulnerable. Surprise, surprise. And Mandy was like, Robin, going under general is the best sleep you will ever have. And I was like, actually, that does sound really nice. So as a parent, I'm a little more encouraged. A really good sleep does sound quite nice. So if you're just joining us, thank you for joining. I'm sorry Mandy's not here. I know I'm not Mandy, and I'm not awesome like Mandy is awesome. But we're talking reproduction today. She is having to work, and she's going to try to pop in as soon as she can, but it's out of her control. Speaking of things being out of your control, how fucked up is the reproductive situation in North America, specifically the United States? But as your friendly upstairs neighbors, we're real scared too. We're scared for Americans, and we are scared for the future of the United States, and we're scared for the future of other countries. Like, we're scared of what they could do in Canada. Because, for my American loved ones, whenever you hear people say in the media that the rest of the world is watching the United States, they're not wrong. Like, they're right on. We've been watching, at least in Canada, we watch, and it's scary sometimes, but we love you and we're worried for you. So if you have any questions for me, if you don't know who I am, my name is Robin Beach. I'm a friend of Mandy's. I am a former stripper, former pro-dom, former nurse with experience in cardiology, psychology, and sexual health. And now I am a sex educator / consultant / coach. I do a lot of work around a lot of stuff in sexual health, and a lot of LGBTQIA2S plus kind of rights and justice. I work a lot in education, educating folks on things like consent, on people's bodies, a lot of queer and trans sexual health stuff. That's the kind of stuff I do. I am non-monogamous. I have been pretty much forever. I joke that I went through kind of a monogamous stage. I did try it. It was not for me. So I am a consensually non-monogamous parent. I'm queer. My co-parent Brandon, and I've got 2 kids that are home from school, obviously, for the summer. So we'll see how well they do. Please let me know if you can hear me. I'm gonna make sure this is working. I am admittedly terrified without Mandy being here. So I guess I'll just talk about myself and go a little bit more into the procedure I'm going to be having. I am really nervous. So if you have questions, because my biggest questions whenever there's medical stuff in the States is like, you have to pay for that, right? Wait, do you have to pay for this? Oh, do you have to pay for this? And Mandy's always like, yes, Robin. Yes, Robin. Yes, Robin, we have to pay for that too. Like, what? I'm not going to have to pay a penny to get my uterus removed, which is really cool. I'm hospital stay, even if I end up staying overnight, they said, depending on the time of my surgery, which I don't know the time yet. I just know the day. I might be staying overnight. That's not going to cost me anything. And basically in Canada, if you can get a doctor to sign off on it, that it would be beneficial to your health, or that it is somehow medically necessary, even then, even just not medically necessary, but it would be beneficial to your health. If you can get a doctor to sign off on it, you don't have to pay for it. If it's elective, cosmetic, that kind of thing, then you have to pay for it. So with my partial hysterectomy, It is elective. I am electing and I am choosing to do the procedure. I obviously don't have to. In Canada, you have a right to refuse any kind of medical treatment or advice. And so if I just walked in and said, I just want my uterus out, then, well, that's what I did. Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning. I called my general practitioner, my GP, my family doctor, what you would call my family doctor. I called the office and I was like, I said this. I said, I would like a referral to an OBGYN querying on a partial hysterectomy. AKA, I want a gynecologist to discuss a hysterectomy. So my GP originally sent me a referral to an OB that he had chosen, and I did not like this OBGYN at all. Like a lot of people have experienced, I basically got, why don't you just take birth control? And I'm like, I'd already explained all the reasons why birth control was not a great option for me. It can interact negatively with the other medications that I'm on that are for mental health, like mood disorder type stuff. I'm bipolar. So hormone treatments is not a good idea with those medications. It's also typically not a good idea with certain mental health stuff. You might kind of like, you should know this, you're a specialist. Other things. And so, yeah, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. You also have, at least Canadians have a right to refuse any medical practitioner. So we have a right to say, like, I don't want this doctor treating me. I would like a different doctor. You have a right to say, I don't like this nurse. I do not want this nurse to treat me. I want a different nurse. Do you have that right in the US? Any of my American loved ones, please comment and let me know. Yeah, the Canadian rights, you have the right to refuse. You have the right to be informed. So if you ask a question about a medication, you have the right to know everything you can about that medication. Though not a lot of people are familiar in Canada with that right to be informed. And some healthcare providers don't want to explain. But so you have to really lay it down to be like, actually, according to Canadian law, I do have a right to be informed. That means I have a right to see my chart and hold my chart or any of my documentation or information they keep on me at any time. I'm allowed to see it. And yeah, I have the right to refuse. I have the right to be informed. That's pretty much it. I feel like I'm missing another one, but so you can refuse certain treatment, and you can refuse treatment from certain healthcare professionals. And when I was working as a nurse, we'd call it like getting fired. So if you have a patient that fires you, you're not fired from your job, but you're like not allowed to see that patient anymore because they've refused to have you treat them. So sometimes, yeah, you would get a patient would be like, let's find a nurse this guy hasn't fired yet. So I said, I don't want to see this OB. I'm not meshing well with this person. I don't like her advice. I disagree with a lot of what she's saying. I know she's a specialist, but this is not who I'm looking for, and this is not who I want operating on me. So at that point, I don't know how it would work in the States. What I did was ask my friends around, basically, to find a good OBGYN. Got the name of one that was highly recommended by a friend, and then said to my doctor, my GP, my family doctor, here is the OB. Can you give me a referral for this doctor, for this OBGYN? And he was like, all right, fine. So he just writes out a referral for that doctor specifically. So I requested that doctor. And some doctors he could say, no, I'm full, but he was able to see me. And I really, 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 really liked this OB that I'm seeing now that is going to be performing the partial hysterectomy. Oh, he was such a breath of fucking fresh air. He was like really sex positive and clearly informed and happy to discuss everything on a very personal level, which is actually something that is important for a doctor, of course. You need to be able or any healthcare provider, not only do you need to be knowledgeable and sufficient, like at your skills, but you need to be able to have a good rapport with your patients. You need to be able to explain things to them in a way they can understand. You need to help them feel like they have these options and explain them in a way that they can understand. But of course, not all healthcare providers have those skills, because everyone's different. But so this guy, I really, really like him. Sounded Canadian. This guy, this buddy. I'm not your buddy guy. So this guy, I loved his point of view, and it was like everything I was looking for. He said, look at all these options. He listed off, birth control pills, and we talked about the IUD, and I was like, I had an IUD and I got pregnant. I'm not doing that again. I don't want to be pregnant anymore. I don't want to have kids again. I don't want to risk being pregnant again. And this is part of what makes it a lot easier to have it done for free in Canada, is that I do have painful and irregular periods. So I had to go through a series of tests to make sure everything was okay. So if you've been keeping up with my social media, it's okay if you haven't. Social media is @SexWithRobin. I've been getting ultrasounds. I had an internal and external pelvic ultrasound, pap smears, all this other stuff. And just to make sure that everything is okay for surgery, I guess, you got to get all the information before going in there. And yeah, he's like, let's do this. If you want it out, I'll take it out. And he said he believed that all of these other things, these other options that are non-invasive, which are totally valid options for some people, things like hormonal birth control pills, things like an IUD, things like the patch or the shot, or I'll get into the other stuff. But those things, he's like, no, you have a long time before menopause, which is true. I have at least, knock on wood, at least a decade and a half before I have to start thinking, okay, maybe we're looking at menopause. And he's like, your quality of life would be a lot better for you if you did not have to deal with these really heavy periods, which is possibly endometriosis. He said he didn't see any signs of endometriosis in the exams and tests that we have done. But sometimes he said you can't necessarily detect it until you're in there surgically. And then you can see stuff on the outside of the uterus that you wouldn't normally see with certain ultrasounds. So he said endometriosis is plausible. It's probable, but none of the tests we have show it, but I'm saying it sounds like it. And he's like, take it out. You don't want kids anymore. And there's something also called endometrial ablation, which is, from what I've heard from anyone who's had it, really unpleasant. And I'm just going to say it. I've done a little bit of research on it. I'm familiar-ish with the procedure. And I actually don't. Let me know in the comments if you had it and had good experience. I've not heard of anyone that's had a really good experience. And studies are showing it's like maybe a 50-50 that you have a good experience with it. The other 50-50 are that it's painful and that it might not be effective and you would have to go do it again. It is a temporary thing. Endometrial ablation is only temporary. You're looking at 4 or 5 years. So that is something that is typically recommended for someone who is closer to menopause, where you're basically like pausing your periods until menopause. And so because I have a lot longer to go, I have more than 4 or 5 years. I have at least a decade and a half, according to my doctor. So an ablation is a horrible idea, which my GP was trying to get me to go for. And I was like, I'm way too young for you to recommend that, in my opinion. I know this, I'm a horrible patient. Healthcare providers make horrible patients. Because I was like, that's not typically recommended for anyone under 40, is it? My doctor's like, the best thing you can have when dealing with certain doctors and stuff. Because again, I love my doctor. Not everyone knows everything. Not everyone is a specialist in everything. And the first thing you learn in at least nursing school was your education never ends. You think you know stuff, and then 5 years from now, the whole medical world has changed. So you have to be constantly learning, and no one's a specialist in everything. So the best weapon you can have in a healthcare setting is knowledge. Oh, Emery. I love you. Here's a comment from Emery. You busted that doctor. Yeah, that's my GP. He lets me bust him, but every now and then I'll bust him, and every now and then he busts me. But yeah, it was like, why are you recommending this? I'm not even on the later side of 30 to be. I'm still 34. Still on the other side of that. I'm still in my early 30s, right? I'm like, they're not typically recommended for someone under 40. And he's like, well, just think about it. Okay. Whatever makes you feel better. No, I'm not going to think about it. So this OB that I'm seeing that is doing my hysterectomy. Oh, okay. He was so great. He asked me what I thought, as like personally and even professionally. I don't know how it was on my chart. I don't recall writing out a chart about what I do for work, but maybe it's in my other medical charts or something. It said, sex and what does it say on my chart? I think it just says, sex and relationship educator, coach, and consultant. And he pointed that out, and he was like, oh, we can have a good talk. And he like was excited to talk to me. At least he appeared that way. And we had a really great discussion over whether or not to remove the cervix. And I was like, I've heard both sides. What do you think? And because he asked me what I thought. And I was like, honestly, I've heard both arguments, but I wouldn't have a knowledgeable enough choice, at least in my opinion. I've just had a little bit here and there. What do you think? And he's like, I have an opinion. And he said, my opinion is that you remove the cervix. And he said, this is why. For a few reasons. One, if you're keeping the cervix, which is of course attached to the uterus and the vagina, you would have to figure out where among the uterus you're going to cut the uterus off, right? Which means you're going to have to go in abdominally, which is really invasive to do surgical, like abdominally, and kind of having to figure out where exactly you need to cut the uterus off from the cervix. As opposed to, if you take the cervix, he doesn't even have to go in abdominally. He's going to do the surgery through my vagina, which I think is really, really cool. He's basically going to go into the vagina, to the cervix, and do an incision on both sides of the cervix and kind of around. And they're going to scoop out my uterus. And they're going to, I'm sure it's a little more eloquent than scooped, but that's what I'm going with, because I think that sounds really fucking cool. And they're going to keep the ovaries in, which of course the ovaries are to keep the hormones. So there will still be hormonal cycles that I'll be going through. There's no need for hormonal treatments if you keep the ovaries in, and there's no risk of early menopause, virtually no risk of early menopause or needing hormone treatments. He did say that because the hormones are still present, he said, if you notice you have an emotional cycle due to your hormones, that will likely still be present. So just be informed. If, for example, what I do is I get really, really, really sad for one day, right? It's always the day before my period. And I have to remember that it is probably a period thing coming, because it's just like everything is hopeless and I get very weepy and sad and I get very Eeyore. And it's just that one day. And then the next day I get my period. So I told him, he's like, okay, that's probably still going to happen after your hysterectomy. And that's just that's literally the period you're going to get, is that one day of sadness. And I'm like, I'll take it. I mean, it sucks, but I'll take it. So the emotional cycle is still going to be present. Hi, Creeper. And oh yeah, Emery commented, yeah, my mom still has PMS. Yeah, that's because the ovaries will still release the hormones. Well, it was subtle. Brandon. The cervix, taking the cervix out. So they're going to take the cervix through the vagina, which I just think is really cool. And they're going to take the uterus and then the fallopian tubes, and they're just going to leave the ovaries. And then they'll take that out through the vagina. So they're not going to need to do a ton of what they'll probably do. They might do a little bit of laparoscopic where they do a couple of little incisions in the abdomen so that they can see really well. But most of the surgery is going to be performed through the vagina. And then they take the cervix out, sew it up, and then I'm going to call it my hot pocket. Brandon hates the hot pocket term, but I am in love with it. I want to call it my hot pocket now. Here's the other reason he said he recommends taking out the cervix. Also, no cervical cancer and no more pap smears, which was like, what? He was doing the pap smear. And he said, this is the last pap smear of your life. And I was like, oh, thank you. And so, yeah. And then your risks of cervical cancer are essentially out. And then this was the really sex positive thing he said that made me really, really happy. He said, studies are showing if you leave the cervix in, your sex life will be either the same or worse. If you take the cervix out, studies are showing your sex life will either be the same or better in terms of sexual pleasure. And I was like, well, sign me up for the better, even just the same, because that is a scary thing. That is actually something that makes me nervous, because that's like, she's sacred. She's kind of sacred. That is, I am a very sexual person, and I like my vagina. I like sex, and I don't want that to change. So I'm really nervous, but this doctor was really sex positive and seemed really informed, and I trust him. So got a couple more comments here. Can you text me this doctor's info after, please? Yes, if you want, because I don't feel good about just saying his name and practice online. Just text me and I will give you his info. He's located, I will say where. Where is that? Oh, his office was in New West, and the procedure that is going to be performed will be at Eagle Ridge Hospital. That's in Coquitlam. That's the information I'll give. His office was in New West. It was right next to Royal Columbian Hospital, so I thought I'd be going there, but he was like, Eagle Ridge, and I'm like, I don't care where it is as long as I can get a ride. Oh yeah, Emery says, haha, that decision sounds like a no-brainer, right? I was like, you've convinced me. There's a hell of a lot of reasons for taking the cervix out. And I said, can I ask you something? I said, what is the argument for keeping it? And he didn't have a lot of good answers. I don't even really remember. He had kind of just said, I think there was, I do remember. He said people believe that there's a higher risk of prolapse if you take the cervix, but he said that is proven to be false. That it was believed higher risk of prolapse, but that is now proven to be false. So I was like, again, there's not a real good reason I'm hearing for keeping the cervix. So take it. Yeah, better sounds good. Yeah, I'm like, as long as it's the same or better, we're good. Yeah. So I'm very, very excited. And this is why I was like, we can talk about reproduction stuff, because there's happy news too. I'm going to grumble and complain about it because, again, I'm a really horrible patient, but at the same time, I'm choosing this. And there's like, I don't know if pride is the right word, but I feel maybe empowered would be a better word. I truly feel so empowered in that I am choosing this. Yes, I'm going to grumble and complain, but I'm going to walk into that hospital and I'm going to wheelchair my way out with a smile on my face because I am choosing what happens to my body. I don't want any more children and I don't want to get pregnant. And this is going to be, I don't care if what I'm going to say right now is controversial. I will not have another baby. It is not actually safe for me to do so. I do have a lot of damage to my uterus. It tore when I had my first, and I was told by my doctor it is not good for me. The fewer babies, the better. It is actually dangerous for me to get pregnant again. And I'm not in a position in my life. No, I wouldn't have another baby. And so that doesn't mean I'm going to throw all my care out the window and say, it's okay, I can just have an abortion. I also would like not to have an abortion. A lot of people that want to have an abortion are not like, yay, let's go have an abortion. No, they're in a position where they can't or won't. It's not your business either way. But like, it's not like I'm going, oh, it's okay, I'll just get an abortion. No, I'd really rather not have an abortion. So I'd rather not get pregnant in the first place. I will do everything I can to not get pregnant because I don't want to go and do something that is not a fun procedure. It is not something that people want to do. Okay. Usually, like, this is something that someone has to do. It's a difficult decision and it's not a fun procedure. So I'm going to try to avoid getting pregnant. So how about you help me out and take my fucking uterus out so we don't have to worry about it? I'm getting ranty. Mandy would probably laugh her ass off. She's like, is this the angry Canadian? Like, yeah, this is pissed off. I can get angrier, but I'm still going to smile and call you buddy. Emery, I'm so happy for you. Thank you. I'm so thrilled. I am really thrilled that I'm choosing this for myself. And I'm not going to have to pay a dime. And yeah, it just feels good to say, no, you don't get to decide what happens to my body. I do. I want my uterus out. Take it out. Keep it if you want. I don't want it. So I was asking, now I got to be careful what I say online because I don't know if this is illegal. If anyone needs certain things from Canada, like the morning after pill or Plan B, whatever you want to call it, is it illegal for me to just mail a whole bunch of those to the States? Like, honestly, if you need some, I'll send you some. Does anyone know if that's legal? Do you have access? These are some of my questions because I'm not familiar. I'm trying to kind of familiarize myself with what's going on in the States. I'm actually just going to start pulling up some Google stuff because I was watching and I didn't finish it, but I'm going to finish it after this. If anyone's familiar with Legal Eagle, it's fun to say. Legal Eagle. He's a YouTuber. He's a lawyer. He has a video discussing Roe v. Wade, and I was think halfway through it when I had to do some stuff. So yeah, do y'all have access to Plan B? Is that something that is going to be taken away? Let's look it up. I'm looking it up. Oh yeah, Roe v. Wade news. So this shit's so fucked. What does this all mean? Right? What does it all mean? Oh, thank you, Emery. It says, I think we still have access to Plan B and the morning after pill. I'm pretty sure that's what Mandy said. Yeah, that she had said, oh, no, we still got it. And I know that they're basically making it about each state. That, I don't understand that. I don't get it. Like, at least in Canada, most of the like big laws are all national. There's not a lot that's by province. There's maybe a few like the drinking age. in Canada, depending on what province you're in, is either 18 or 19 for drinking age. Yeah, here in BC, it's 19. So everyone jokes that everyone from BC, we go over to Alberta when you turn 18, because in the next province over, it's 18 for legal drinking age. Other than that, things like gay marriage, nationwide, cannabis, nationwide. Most things we do are nationwide. Any kind of reproductive stuff, to my knowledge, is all nationwide in Canada. So I'm also hearing that there are certain states that are implementing laws that make it so that they can legally help people from other states have access to things like abortion rights, health care. Like, can we just call it that? It's reproductive health care, maybe? Or just rights? Okay. I'm putting it up. Emery's got it. And yes, I've said this so many times. Emery says, doesn't sound like a very united decision of the United States. It is so baffling because from a perspective of someone who is not American, I'm Canadian. It's like each state is their own like little country. They're also very different. And whenever I travel to the States, I do research on the state that I'm going to. I do. I usually look up certain consent laws, and I look up queer and trans rights and women's rights whenever I go to a state, because I know that there are states, Tennessee. In Tennessee, it is absolutely legal to discriminate based on gender or sexuality. What? That's why I look that shit up every single time I go. If it's a state that I've never been to or that I'm not familiar with their laws, I look up those laws in that state that I'm going to be in. Because it's scary. So we're like, how are they the United States again? And there's been some times where I've said things like, why don't they just split? And Brandon goes, you mean like the Civil War? Oh, shit. Yeah, I guess so. Got another comment here. We do still have access to Plan B, but they are coming for that next, Mandy. Yes, guarantee. Why not? Why wouldn't they stop? Fuck. People said this about Trump. He keeps getting away with it. So what's to stop him from continuing doing stupid, shitty, illegal, corrupt, fucked up, evil things? The Supreme Court is getting away with this. What's to stop them from doing whatever the fuck they want? Getting ragey again. Need more caffeine. It's scary. It is. That's the only word I really have for it. Is scary. It's nauseating. Okay. I've got some stuff coming up here. This case created the trimester system, allowing an absolute right to an abortion in the first 3 months or trimester of pregnancy. Some government regulation in the second trimester. Did you hear? Some government regulation in the second trimester. Government regulation of my fucking second trimester? Go away. Get out of my uterus. Jeez. States to restrict or ban abortions in the last trimester as the fetus nears the point where it could live outside the womb. Roe v. Wade also established that in the final trimester, a woman can obtain an abortion despite any legal ban only if doctors certify it's necessary to save her life or health. Okay, so that's interesting. Oh, yes. Thank you. There's a comment here. I was actually wondering about that. We have multiple states that have a heartbeat law. I'm going to Google the heartbeat law. I had it explained to me a while back, and now I don't remember. When it looks like it's different depending on what state you're in. because I see it popping up. Heartbeat law in Texas, heartbeat law, Ohio. Heartbeat bill explained. Oh, there's a heartbeat bill, Georgia and Oklahoma. Heartbeat bill explained. And the comment is, if a heartbeat can be detected, no termination. That's like pretty much right after you become pregnant. A heartbeat starts really early, doesn't it? I'm trying to remember how early it starts. It's like early. I'm looking that up. Five to 6 weeks of pregnancy. You wouldn't even know you're pregnant then. Yeah, there's a heartbeat by the time you know. But I actually struggle to call it a heartbeat, like quotations, because I don't know if any of you have seen on an ultrasound what the heart looks like as it's beating. It is not a fully formed heart, like by any means. It's literally like a flap that pulses. So they shouldn't call it a heartbeat law. They should call it a flappy pulsing law. And okay, I have to pull it up. I actually kind of just want to share it in the comments. I saw a really cool video a while back. I don't even know if I could find it. I'd have to look in my YouTube history. There's a video of people of different like religious backgrounds discussing, and like abortion is okay in Catholicism. It was discussed on that, and there was Muslim where it's like something about I don't even remember, but it was really cool how there were people of certain religious backgrounds explaining that their religion in scripture actually supports abortion, and it's kind of just an invented thing. I need to find it because I can't explain. I don't remember the details. Absolute blasphemy. Yeah. Some women don't even know they're pregnant until many weeks after a heartbeat can be detected. Yeah. I wouldn't even call it a heartbeat. It's a flap that pulses. But yeah, I know, let me think. With Dexter, I found out I know we were planning. This was very much planned and intended. I was probably about 5 or 6 weeks when I found out. And this was like planning, like checking to see if you're pregnant. Yeah, I think I was about 5 weeks. With Calvin, who was not planned, I had an IUD in with Calvin. Actually, Brandon and I had just had the conversation of like, let's wait. He wanted to start having another kid again already. And I was like, I'd like to wait a little longer. He was like, I want to do it now. And I said, I want like a year. So we compromised on 6 months. And we're like, all right, in 6 months, we'll start trying. Or at least talk about trying. And then I found out I was pregnant. So I guess he won. But that's the thing. I had an IUD in, so I wasn't getting my period. And I had no idea. And I was like feeling off, but I thought maybe I was at the flu. Like, I didn't know for a while. It was probably a good 10, 11 weeks. And I remember Brandon brought it up. He's like poking. He's like, maybe you could be pregnant. And I was like, no, I can't. I have an IUD. Like, it was the furthest thing from my mind as a possibility. And sure enough, it was actually the exhaustion. And people that have had babies will know what I'm talking about. Or people that have been pregnant. The exhaustion was eventually, I was like, hang on a minute. I only recall being this tired when I was pregnant. And I was like, I'm going to take the test, get it out of my head. Cause I was like, it's not even possible. Sure enough, I was like really pregnant and my doctor was making fun of me. He's like, you've had a baby and you didn't know you were pregnant? I didn't think I could get pregnant with an IUD. No, I didn't know I was pregnant. So I was at least, I think I was a good 11 weeks when I found out with Calvin. And I wouldn't have spotted it if I hadn't been pregnant before. There's my story. Comment, and I know that most OBGYNs won't even see you in Georgia until after 10 weeks pregnant. Yes, Mandy, that's a really good point. At least here, I know it takes a while to get in to see someone. There's usually, you have to call like right away, because especially for like midwives, there's long waiting lists sometimes. So like as soon as you're pregnant, you got to call and hopefully someone can get you in. Like sometimes you have to wait. And yeah, there are OBs that won't see you until you're a certain amount, just because the likelihood of a miscarriage is fairly common in, especially before 10 weeks. And I got another comment here from Mandy. Abortion is talked about in their Bible multiple times and is never negatively perceived in the stories. When you say their Bible, are you specifically referring to which Bible are we talking? But from my knowledge, a lot of religious scriptures of various backgrounds, it was like a normal thing. It wasn't a big deal. We've got Emery says, it blows me away how these men are claiming it's a heartbeat without having legitimate knowledge on what's actually in a woman's uterus at the time. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's why I ask. I'm like, you know it's not like a baby. It's not like a baby that is this big, like a fully formed little baby hopping around. No, it's literally like a clump of cells. It's literally a clump of cells. And yeah, I still have such a hard time it's already 10 o'clock. We've already gone an hour. I've just been ranting. I was late. Just ranting about shit. Oh, the Christian Bible. Okay. Yeah. Christian Bible probably doesn't have anything in there that's like, they don't have a heartbeat law in the Bible. I can't. Something that I found out this morning, in some states, with all this shit happening, a doctor can refuse like surgery if it's against their religion, which again, we just mentioned a lot of these pretty basic religions don't have or actually allow for abortions up to a certain time. But to refuse doing certain procedures because of your religion, for including an ectopic pregnancy. And I'm still trying to process that one. I'm going to tell you what an ectopic pregnancy is if you're not familiar. An ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy that occurs not in the uterus, like or in a dangerous area. So usually in the fallopian tubes. Okay, I feel like I got to draw a fucking picture for somebody who doesn't understand how important it is. An ectopic pregnancy will kill everyone. It'll kill everyone. An ectopic pregnancy is, at least in Canada, a medical emergency. If you suspect an ectopic pregnancy, you are supposed to go to the hospital, go to emergency. It is an emergency situation. Because it can happen. It's not super common, but it's not uncommon. I've even heard of people getting an ectopic pregnancy when, say, if they had their tubes, their fallopian tubes cut or tied or cauterized, where somehow an egg still got released and somehow a sperm still got to it. It just wasn't in the uterus. Because again, I feel like I gotta explain that, because if you're going to make that law, you don't understand anything. The egg, now a fertilized egg, is going to attach itself to the uterine wall where it can then grow. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it attaches and then detaches because it wasn't attached great. Sometimes the chromosomes aren't great, and that's how a miscarriage can occur. Sometimes that egg will attach inside a fallopian tube, or in the case of the fallopian tubes being snipped, it's happened where someone had a fertilized egg outside, like on the outside of the uterus, attaching to the outside or just floating around in your body. That is a medical emergency, especially if it's in the fallopian tubes. The fallopian tubes are small and those cells are growing at a very rapid rate. You could have something burst and hemorrhage and you will die. So an ectopic pregnancy cannot go to full term. It can't. It would burst something inside of the host. I'm calling the parent a host because you're not a parent yet. You're a host for this. I'm not going to say parasite, but I'm thinking it, and I just said it. I love babies, okay? But that's not a baby. That is cells that are not going to last because an ectopic pregnancy will burst something. So those group of cells can't grow into a baby, and it could possibly kill the host. I'm calling it a host. I was watching Alien last night. Such a good movie. Fun fact about Alien, Sigourney Weaver, 1979. Fun fact about that movie, one of the things that attracted Sigourney Weaver to that role was the fact that the role of her character was not written as a woman. Go watch Alien again. It makes the role so good because it's not written for the role of a woman. It was just supposed to be a guy. And then they were like, hey, if there's nothing specifically saying he's a guy, we'll cast Sigourney. And she was like, hell fucking yeah. Random fun facts in the middle of rage. Comment, we should do a second show next week, continuing the same topic. We can, yes. I need help. I don't know all of the details of what's going on in the States, but I'm here to rage with you and explain ectopic pregnancies to the fuckheads who have no idea what that is. That's so stupid. Why wouldn't you? Back to rage. Why would you not perform something on an ectopic pregnancy? That is a medical emergency that will kill everyone involved. Ugh. I got to get to the comments before I rage more. Emery, thank you, Emery. You have awesome shit to say. You're really cool. The people in power here really need to take a basic anatomy class. Can I teach this class? They would not like me. Emery says, I mean, it's a parasite from the start. There are ways that it's definitely can be classified as such in certain terms. It's a lot. Your whole body changes. Your hormones are changing. I don't even your sense of taste changes. Going to a restaurant was really frustrating actually, because I wouldn't know whether or not I'd be interested in food until it was in front of me. Because sometimes it would be like, you could smell it and be like, nope. So I'd go to a restaurant, I'd be looking at a menu and being like, I know what I would normally like, what would normally sound appetizing to me, Robin, but I have no idea whether or not it's going to interest me. It feels very, very alien and very foreign. Same with sex. I found it was like every time I kind of had the treat as the first time in certain ways, because I'd be like, I know normally this is something I would be into, but I have no idea whether this activity is going to feel good on any given day. Hormones are a lot. Double homicide rather than just removing stuff. Yes, that's if you refuse to treat an ectopic pregnancy, you should be charged with one in a kind of homicide. One in a kind of. Because if we're calling it double homicide, then we're saying the argument that a thing of cells is a person. So one in a bit homicide. Or just put that argument out there. If you want to argue this is a human being as it's a flapping, pulsing cells, you want to call that a human, then you get to be charged with double homicide. That's a really good point, Emery. Seriously. Here's the other one that really, 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 really fucks with me that Mandy told me before the show. Help me out here. Help me out here, someone, because I don't get it. If you have a miscarriage, it happens. It is a very normal, natural thing. And it can be very, very difficult. People can feel a lot of grief or not. Everyone deals with these things differently. And I've had one miscarriage before, and it was rough. But after a miscarriage, sometimes it's not uncommon for not everything to come out. Like, you know, you would bleed like it was your period, but there's a lot of tissues and stuff like that, and your body might not get everything out. And what can happen is some of what's left inside of the uterus will rot if it doesn't come out, which would increase an infection that would not take long to go systemic throughout the rest of your body. That would be an emergency situation. So oftentimes after a miscarriage, a doctor will order what's called a D&C. And I'm a really horrible nurse right now because I can't actually remember what that stands for, because I'm really sorry. This is dark humor. I'm warning you, it's a dark humor thing. People in healthcare and other fields of work use dark humor as a coping mechanism. I know it, and this is not actually what it's called, as a destined clean. It's a dark humor joke. A D&C we would sometimes refer to as a destined clean. That's not what it stands for. But basically, you go around in the uterus and make sure that everything has come out so that you're not going to get an infection. That's what a D&C is. It's not a fun procedure, but it is sometimes very medically necessary. You need to get all that stuff out so it doesn't. And I actually was scheduled to have one, but when I got in, they looked and said, you don't actually need it. Everything that I had came out, so I didn't actually have to go through with the procedure. But a lot of people do. Thank you. Thank you, Emery, for that one. Dilation and Cutteridge. Thank you. It's not a dust and clean. That's what I know in my head. It's a very dark joke. And that is also an emergency situation. I don't know how anyone could possibly refuse to do that. I don't think you should have any kind of license to practice fucking medicine. That doesn't make any sense. That has nothing to do with abortions. Like, if you were getting an abortion, you might need a D&C. But if you had a miscarriage, you might need a D&C as well. And that has nothing to do with an abortion. It's literally just people in power being really, really, really shitty. Like that's so Handmaid's Tale. I can't even, because a D&C might not have anything to do with an abortion. Maybe you intended to get pregnant and then you lost the baby in a miscarriage, and now you have to go through a really, really, really difficult procedure physically and emotionally. And they're like, no, sorry, that's against my religion. You're going to have to just get a systemic infection and die. They're trying. All I can think of is you're attempting intentionally to make women, and I'm saying women, because obviously not all women have a uterus. I'm not going to have a uterus soon. I'm still going to be a woman. And then there are people that have, penises and are women, and that's cool too. But I'm saying women as like socially, this is patriarchal, like by a lot. You're literally trying to dehumanize what femmes, people with vaginas. I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused just because I'm like, what is it anyone with a uterus? Is it femmes? What's really going on, Supreme Court? and stupid, shitty people. Like, who hurt you? Should we talk? What's going on? Jeez. Emery says, it's the procedure that's against the law. Oh, this is Mandy. It's the procedure that's against the law because it has to do with abortion. I wouldn't be able to get a DNC until I'm dying. That's actually, that sounds really, really American. And I'm going to clarify. Americans don't seem to be super, and I'm not saying American people, I'm talking like American government. American government doesn't seem to really be on board with preventative medicine, which doesn't, I mean, maybe it's intentionally to make more money because it is more expensive to do shit last minute. Preventative medicine is a lot cheaper, like by a lot. And so it confuses me because when people say they're conservative, that used to mean something else, but it doesn't mean fiscally conservative anymore. I think people try to argue that. And I'm like, no, there's a lot of things over here where like, actually, this would be cheaper. Actually, doing some of this more eco-friendly shit would be cheaper. Cutting down on plastic use is cheaper. Preventative medicine is cheaper. Addictions resources, mental health resources are cheaper than needing to deal with the aftermath of not having those things. So I don't want to hear anything about conservative people saying they're fiscally conservative because it's bullshit. This shit right here is not just unethical. It's expensive. If you want to try to speak their language, waiting until someone is dying for a ton of medical procedures, you're going to need more pharmaceutical medications. You're going to need, yeah, it's right. Capitalism. It's gross. I know. But if you try to speak that language, it's cheaper to allow someone to get a DNC at an earlier convenience instead of waiting until they're dying. And it's going to cost you so much more in medical equipment and time and staffing and supplies. Like, preventative medicine is cheaper. So I just want somebody to look at me in the eyes and admit that this is anything that has to do with taking care of the people. Isn't that what government is supposed to do? I'm going to get real fucking angry. That's the whole point, isn't it? Society and government, the whole point of that is to help each other, provide each other with the things that we need. Ugh. I need a sec. Someone look at me and tell me that this isn't about oppression with a straight face. Give me any other fucking reason. And it's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I need a fucking smoke. Are y'all as pissed off as I am? I'm not even American. I'm so angry. I don't think you need to be American to be angry. So pissed. Maybe we take a positive break. What should we do? You know what I'm doing after the show today? I am doing a ton of cooking. Lots and lots of cooking because I'm making a bunch of freezer meals ahead of time for after my surgery. I am getting my uterus out, and it doesn't make me any less of a woman, and it doesn't make me any less of a valuable human being. So y'all can go fuck yourself. And I can because I don't have to worry about getting pregnant. I just finished my last period ever, and I'm actually really happy about it. And then I'm going to have a Hot Pocket. And no more pap smears. Slay. Thank you, Emery. Oh, I'm like trying to get my blood pressure back to normal while I smoke. I need my bong. When is cannabis going to be legal throughout the United States? It's only in some states, right? Ay, ay, ay. Scary shit going on. Just calm me down a little. I'm going to cook. Things I'm going to cook today. I'm going to cook. Oh, I'm going to make a chicken red curry. My red curry is my favorite kind of curry. I'm going to make a Thai chicken red curry, which I know Brendan was like, you're going to make curry for after surgery. It's like, okay, sorry, that is a dumb one, but I really like it. And so I'm like, okay, I won't have it right after surgery, but like, there's going to be a good couple weeks where having ready to make easy meals are going to come in handy. So maybe not right after surgery. I won't be having my red curry. And another bit of a heavy one. I'm going to make a chicken pot pie, but in like a casserole so that I can have pieces to eat. I do love chicken pot pie. It's very comfort food. And I have a bunch of stews and soups I'm going to make that are very easy on the stomach, you know, broths with rice and some veggies. That kind of thing. Those are the things I'm making. Some of the things I'm making today. And I've got a roast. I've got a roast that needs to get cooked. So that's going to be for dinner. And then leftovers will be freezer meals. So lots of cooking today. I'm excited. Yeah. Follow me on my Instagram and I'll post on my story. I'm not great at posting, but I try. So we're definitely going to have to talk more. So I will tell you the date of my surgery. It is August 2nd. It is actually really fucking soon. That is not super normal. There was a cancellation. I was told, and I've been keeping y'all updated on this. It was maybe only a couple weeks ago that I finally got the go-ahead from my OB when he was like, yep, let's do it. I'll put you in. Let me know if you have any questions. All I have to do is go in for some blood tests. I got to do that. I'm going for some blood tests just to get a baseline for my general health. But my only other homework is before surgery, cut down on the wine. All right. That's fair. But he actually gave me the go-ahead on the cannabis, and I will explain that actually. I will explain the cannabis thing, because at first I was like, isn't cannabis and general anesthetic, isn't that kind of a risky mix with the general anesthetic? And he was like, there are risks. But this was, how cool is this doctor? This is what he told me. He was like, I actually would encourage you to continue your cannabis use. If it was purely recreational, I would say just not the day before or the day of. He's even like, the day before, probably not a huge deal, but just not the day of, if it's purely recreational. But I use it for pain, and I do have chronic pain in my hips and back, and I get back spasms. And he said, I really don't want you to come in and have me performing surgery on you when you're having a flare up and back spasms and I'm trying to perform surgery on you. That's actually riskier than coming in after, a little bit of cannabis. He was like, maybe don't come in high. I was like, I promise I won't come in high. That's a bad idea. I'm not going to do that. And I smoke regularly for those. And I also use tea and tinctures, and I use cannabis very regularly. According to my doctor's notes, it would be Q 2 to 4 hours PRN, meaning every 2 to 4 hours, and PRN means like as needed. So I can basically use whenever I want. If my pain is particularly bad, I can use more, that kind of thing. That's what PRN means on a prescription. It means as needed. And so, yeah, I use cannabis usually about every 2 to 4 hours as needed, depending on my pain, sometimes more, sometimes less. And he's like, I don't want you in a flare up during surgery. So even like just a little bit is fine, as long as it's something that can manage your pain. Don't come in high. I was like, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And you're really fucking cool and awesome. And Mandy says there won't be any shows that day. Do you mean on August 2nd? That's a Tuesday. So I kind of want to come on the Monday, the day before surgery, to talk about it. I kind of do, because I'm going to be nervous and I'm going to want reassurance and for people to tell me it's going to be okay and that I am slaying by doing this, because I am really scared. I just want reassurance and validation. I'm nervous thinking about it. I'm not good at going under. I really don't like being out of control. It bothers me. I'm awful. And then, yeah, Emery, thank you for saying that, Emery. Emery says I'm definitely slaying. Thank you. I'm like nervous thinking about it, but it'll be okay. I think I'll come on what is that, August 1st, which will be a Monday, and then my surgery will be the next day. I don't know what time yet. It was supposed to be 6 months, but they were like, hey, we have a cancellation. Do you want to do August 2nd? And at first I was like, no. Brandon's like, Robin. It's like, actually, yeah, we did take a moment. They gave us like 2 days to give a response. So I was like, wow, that's actually really cool. Usually they're like, do you want to take it or no? But they said, call us before Wednesday at this time and let us know. So I was like, okay. And I hung up. Brendan and I talked. We discussed logistics, and we discussed, okay, if this is in August, the kids aren't going to be in school. Is it better that they're not in school, or is it better if they are in school after surgery? And we actually kind of agreed that it's better that they're not in school. Less logistics to worry about, picking them up, dropping them off, making lunches, making sure whatever things need to be signed, and projects and homework. And so it was kind of like, well, actually, maybe them being out of school is better. And grandparents have been willing to help out a lot. My mom is helping out a lot, which blows my mind. My mom is the sweetest, most thoughtful person in the world. And she works like full time. And so my mom's going to be, she told me last night, I know I didn't have much of a choice. She's like, so for these days, I've talked to my boss, I'm going to work from home. I'll come in the morning, pick up your children, take them all day, come back bring them back after dinner. She says, I would take them overnight, but I'm not going to, because I think it'll be important for your children to see that you're okay. I want them to be there in the morning and at bedtime to make sure that you're okay. And she's just going to work from home and take care of the kids like every day for a while. Brandon's parents are going to take the kids as well. And then on the weekend, my mom's going to take them overnight. And I'm like, how are you such a fucking rock star? Thank you. My mom's awesome. It's like, she's a single woman that still works. It still works. She'd kick my ass for saying she's not ready to retire yet. I'm sorry, Mom. You're still working. That was really poorly phrased. Now I'm blushing. I'm sorry. Emery, you're a role model of mine for sure. Thank you. Thank you. I'm like crying. Sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to make you sound really old. You're just a little old, and I love you. So I'm really thrilled to have the support. It's mostly just me needing to get out of my own head, because so prepping as much as possible is going to be good. I've been trying to explain to the kids what's going on, because I do want them to be prepared. At least to be prepared for, like, I've tried to explain, especially to my youngest, who's now 7. Oh my God. That's weird. And that I'm going to be groggy and sleepy and probably in a lot of pain, but I'm going to be on lots of medicine that will help me from pain, but it's going to make me really sleepy. So we have to be very gentle with Mommy. And he was like, okay. And Dexter said, Dexter actually is a little upset because he wants me to have another baby. He says he wants a little sister. And I'm like, that is so sweet. First of all, no. Second of all, no. Third of all, if I did have another baby, we'd just end up having another boy. Like, that's what would happen. I'm sorry. You're not getting a little sister. Fourth, no. 5th, we'll just get a dog. I told the kids we'll get a dog. We are going to get a dog at some point soonish. That's another story. That has nothing to do with reproduction. We're waiting for Togepi to pass, basically. She doesn't do well with other animals, and she's getting very old, and she's starting to get in a lot of pain, and her mouth is not in a great state. So the vet and I have talked about her reaching the end of life. So if you ask my 7-year-old, because he's very matter of fact, he'll go around saying, we're getting a dog. We're just waiting for the cat to die. And I'm like, shh, don't say it like that. Oh, Mandy told me I needed to explain something. It's probably a little late now because we're already past what would be Mandy's hour. So we're in the Sex with Robin hour. And I don't have to, no, I will explain it. Because I don't even know if you can see it. Get some lighting. You see it? It's not very visible, is it? Is it? Can't get the right angle. Can you see it? Mandy wants to lick it. You can't see it as much anymore. I got some marks on my face from kinky consensual, very consensual stuff. It was very consensual. Yeah, I really like grappling. I really like what's called CNC, consensual non-consent. Also known, I like the game, if you can flip it, you can fuck it. Where you're kind of grappling for the one being in control. Anyways, and I actually do find it, over the years, I have found it increasingly difficult to find someone that can kind of really take me. I don't want to sound like an egotistical ass, but topping over the years, you get better at it. And because my reputation is more of a top, I think it is harder to find somebody that is like, oh, wait, you want a bottom? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, but I know you as a top. Like, there's something intimidating about it. Anyways, so I've met someone who does. I just found out he did say he found me intimidating at first. And I was like, oh my God, come on. Come on. But he's not anymore. But he can take me, which is really cool. But it is a struggle. So he had his hand down. Consensually, it was so hot. Like, I was basically trying to, if you can flip it, you can fuck it. But I failed. And he had his hand on my face. And I was fighting back. So he was holding me down pretty hard. And afterwards, we got in the hot tub, and poor guy, the look on his face. He did not intend to mark my face. I'm okay with it. That was the first time he's ever marked someone's face. And I think that was a bit of a struggle. But we talked a lot about it. And I was like, I'm actually like, I think it's so hot. And he's like, okay, I'm okay that you're okay about it. But he's like, if you weren't okay with it, like, he's kind of struggling, and that's fair. And I'm like, trust me, it was hot. And if you're okay with it, I would like for you to do it again. So I was sending pictures because you could see it's more faded now, and it's draining down here. But I had some marks along here, and you could kind of see like where the fingers were. And he was like, I was like, oh, so hot. So Mandy, I sent her pictures, and she said she wants to lick it. And I was like, I want you to lick it. Too far away. Sorry, Em, if that was too much information. But you're pretty cool, so. Yeah. That was fun. So she's like, you might want to explain. I was like, okay. So there's my explanation. It was a sex thing. Totally consensual. And I have no shame, so I have no problem going to the store for something. I'm not going to put makeup on it. And it's okay if you want to. Like, it's your body. That's the whole point of this fucking show today. You do whatever the hell you want with your body. You are able to consent. and you are able to revoke consent, can we not just respect each other's bodies? I feel actually quite similar with things like drug use. Here we go. Whether or not you're asking for it, here you go. Personally, I like alcohol. I love cannabis. I have never done any other illicit, I don't say illicit, any kind of other drugs. I've thought about it, and I might try like mushrooms, or I've considered trying like microdosing LSD. I've never done it. I've considered it and thought about it. Maybe one day. I've never done cocaine. I've never done MDMA, or I don't know. What else is there? Speed. Do we not call it speed anymore? Molly, whatever. I'm not interested. I have control issues. I don't like feeling like I'm out of control. So it's never just been my jam. I have no shame like on other people. I worked as a stripper. I've been around a lot of cocaine. Been around it, people casually doing lines around me offering, and I'm like, yeah, no thanks. Never did it. Been around it a lot as a stripper, but just never really had any interest. And so it doesn't bother me. I have had friends or partners that like to use whatever substances, and I'm like, that's cool, not for me, but thank you. It's your body. I really do firmly believe in decriminalizing illicit drug use and trying to put more resources towards either addictions and mental health, or both addictions and mental health. But like, if you want to put that in your body, that's your body. Be as informed as possible, be as safe as you can, but it's still your choice. It's none of my fucking business what you want to put inside your body or what you want to experience. That's my opinion. And that goes with everything. You do what you want with your body. You want to eat fast food? Go for it. Enjoy. You want to do cocaine? Go for it. Like, that's your choice. Don't bring your shit into my house. This is my house. And no, I'm not taking whatever I don't want to, because I don't have to. It's my body. How complicated is that? Can we just keep things simple like that? You do what you want with your body. Maybe if you're on a bunch of drugs and you commit a bunch of crimes, sure. But be convicted for the crimes, not the drugs. That's stupid. It's stupid. Anyone else? It's okay. We don't have to get into that discussion. But I feel like the same thing goes for reproduction. It's your body. It's your business. You get to choose. You are an adult. You want your uterus out? You don't have to be the one to take it out. You get to choose. I don't agree with the doctor saying, no, it's against my religion, but I kind of do a little bit. I can see a doctor being like, I'm not comfortable performing that surgery. Maybe. Not an emergency situation. Actually, now I got to think about that, because I'm pretty sure. Okay, in Canada, here's how it is. And I'm going to just go with my experience as a nurse. As a nurse, if you are in a facility, if you are on the clock working for a facility, you need to act. There is responsibility that falls on you. I'm sure it gets a lot more complicated, but to my knowledge. But if I'm not on the clock, if I'm not working as a healthcare practitioner or whatever, and there's an emergency situation, someone's bleeding, I do have the right as a citizen, because I wouldn't be on the clock no matter my medical background, I do have the right to say I'm not comfortable getting involved. Because, say, for example, the person's covered in blood and I don't have any gloves and I would get blood on me, I would have the right to say, no, I'm not going to help. And, but if I'm on the clock as a healthcare provider, you're obliged to help. But you also would have, in a facility, you would have access to gloves and other staff and other equipment. But to my knowledge, at least what I was taught was, yeah, if you're just a citizen, you are not legally obliged to provide any first aid or anything like that. Basically, if you're not getting paid for it. And you're not allowed to help someone and then charge them for it. Any of the work that you do in the healthcare aspect outside of the facility is something that would just be voluntary. You're not allowed to charge for any kind of medical whatever. But that also means you're not obliged to help. Which I would, actually. I lived in an apartment, and I was right outside of an intersection that I was on the corner of an intersection that had car accidents all the time. I actually, maybe is this Canadian of me? I wrote to the city saying how many accidents were out there, and it had like a 2-way light, but I'm like, it needs a 4-way intersection light. There's constant accidents there. And so I had my first aid kit. I had my gloves right by the door because I'd hear it all the time, a screech and a crash, and I just grab my kit and run outside. But I always had gloves, so I was okay. But it wouldn't be, of course, I wouldn't be obligated to do that. I don't even want to talk sponsors. I don't feel like it's appropriate because I'm just raging about reproductive shit, and I don't want people to earn money. Maybe. Nobody's allowed to earn money. Fucking capitalism. Nope, money's a thing that is needed. So if you do want to support Split Radio, Mandy and I, honestly, word of mouth is really good. Word of mouth, or I'm not going to say like and share and subscribe because that really pisses me off. But any any kind of spreading the word is the biggest support in a lot of ways, especially with my one-on-one. Actually, almost all my clients, a lot of them are from word of mouth. So that is much appreciated. Thank you to all of those that do word of mouth, because we all live in this capitalist world where now we're getting rights taken away. That is pretty major rights. Okay, I want to see what kind of positive resources people can find before we kind of close up. This is my question, because I know there are certain states that are trying to be helpful. I have to be careful again legally, but I will just say, as a Canadian and as a fucking human, as a non-American, I will do what I can to help. I got to be careful legally. I will do what I can to try to help support you. If you need me, contact me. If you need something mailed to you, stop talking. If I had a lawyer, they'd tell me to stop talking. If you need a place to stay, open door policy. That's all I can say legally, but I'm willing to help. How else can people help? Are there certain, here's my question. What's going on with Planned Parenthood? What's changing with Planned Parenthood? That's actually my next question. And I think maybe that's something I'm going to do some research on before coming back. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to provide a ton of information because I'm not as familiar with what's going on in the States as Mandy is, but I'm trying to learn and mostly just getting pissed off. But that's good. I think it's good to be angry as long as you do something with it. What should I do with my anger? I'm gonna cook lots. I'm a fan of rage cleaning. If I'm really angry, I will clean the house. I think actually, Emery, Mandy's told me that the others in the house can tell when Mandy's rage cleaning. I rage clean. It's a good way to get rid of energy. And then you're like, wow, my house is clean. And then you feel happier that your house is clean and you're tired. So it's perfect. So I'm going to rage cook and rage clean. That's my plan today. And I'm also going to, actually, yeah, let me grab the link and I'll put it in the chat. I really want, because I haven't finished listening to it. I really love Legal Eagle. Yeah, I hadn't finished. I just started the video on it. Where is it? Videos. Here we go. After Roe v. Wade, what next is what it is called. And there's also another one called How Supreme Court Killed Roe v. Wade. So I need to save, let's see. Copy, and now I'm going to paste it in the chat. Here you are. Here's the first one by Legal Eagle. Let me know if that pops up. It should. How the Supreme Court Killed Roe v. Wade. And then the other one that he did is After Roe v. Wade. Oops, that's not it. What next? Which I think is a big question we're all having, right? When I say we all, I do mean we all. I know I'm not American, but we're scared over here too. We're scared for our loved ones. I'm scared for my American loved ones. And I'm scared for that shit coming here. And what next? Right? Jeez. So thank you for listening to me rant today. I hope you learned something or at least had some kind of maybe catharsis. I know it can help to see other people upset, actually. That is something that I know helps me is when I'm upset about something and I'm just over here like, is this not fucking crazy? You feel like gaslit by the Supreme Court, and this Roe v. Wade shit is so gaslighty too. And you need to see people go, no, that's not okay. No, that is upsetting. To really help validate others and be like, yeah, it is okay for you to be pissed. This is something that should piss you off. Anyways, I think I'm going to call it. It has been a ranty morning. I actually do feel a little better ranting. Like I feel like I've let out a bit of that frustration. It's one of the things I kind of joke that Canadians are apparently known for swearing more, at least in terms of censorship regulation. Our censorship is not as strong as the United States. The United States is much more strict on certain language in radio and media. So maybe that's where that comes from. We do swear a lot. I swear a lot. But swearing has also been proven to be an effective way of releasing physical stress and anger and aggression, and helps with pain processing, like actually proven to do that versus either not saying anything at all or versus saying words that aren't actually swears, even things like fudge, blueberries, whatever it is not nearly as effective as the actual curse words. So I don't fucking care. I'll do that. It's healthy. We got to let that shit out. You got to let it out, Mandy. Okay, I got to go. I can hear children running around. So they're going to start interrupting me at any moment. I love you all so much. So much. I am, again, so sorry that Mandy was not able to be here today. And Mandy, it's okay. It's okay. We have to continue this next week because I know Mandy has shit to say and Mandy has smart shit to say. And Mandy has some angry things to say. And I want to hear everything she has to say. So thank you for putting up with just me. I was able to share just a bit of what's going on with my reproductive situation. So thank you for all of your support. And I'm happy to answer any questions. So either message me on any of the social medias at Sex with Robin. And you can find us on all of the things. All of our shows, of course, are still available on YouTube after they've aired. And They will be available on Spotify and SoundCloud. I usually throw that on at least less than an hour after airing. So that always shows up if you want to listen to previous episodes. If you want to hear us anywhere else or you want a certain platform, please let me know. I thrive on criticisms and advice. Sometimes I'm not always going to do the thing, but I like to hear it. That's kind of my stance on advice. You're welcome to give me advice. I might not follow it. I'm happy to hear other people's perspectives and knowledge sharing. I'm really all about sharing knowledge. I think the world would be a better place if we did more of that. So let me know. Let me know what you think. And otherwise, I will see you on the show next week. We always air live Mondays at, Mandy's show, The Many Loves Lunch Hour, is 9 a.m. PST, 12 p.m. noon EST. And then mine is Monday right after that, Sex with Robin on Split Radio. That is every Monday at 10 a.m. PST, 1 p.m. EST. And I love you all so, so, so much. Please take care of each other. Just all of the love and support. And you're not alone. All right. And of course, don't forget, if your family or loved ones do not support you for who you are, I am your family now. Love you all. Bye. Butt plug still